So, we just saw the recent Pokemon Direct. A lot was reviewed, and there's a lot of cool things to take in. So, first off, and I think the big thing that everyone's going to be talking about, open world Pokemon. Or at least apparently open world. So, the trailer was moving up until this point, we get this nice sweeping shot, and then you get all these nice little shots of different places, different locales. So, here's what I'm thinking. The way they described it, it made it sound like basically routes are no longer in the game. In between every town now is just they call it the wild region, but you know, it's basically just an overworld. Probably just going to be separated into different biomes and stuff. But that's one way they could be doing it. If they're really going truly open world, like with Xenoblade or with Breath of the Wild, then you could conceivably go from any place to any place, which would be quite a different design if it was if they actually went with that. You see, if you think about it, that means you could conceivably go from any town to any other town without any restrictions. If it is truly open world, that means unless they somehow in this big open world gate you off with like really big gates, like I don't know, an entire like region spanning wall that you can't cross unless you're level 50 and above or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. If they actually did an open world, this would be the first time that you could truly tackle any gym in any order, which will bring along with it a lot of the questions. You know, like how are you gonna balance the gyms? How are you gonna balance the wild Pokemon? Are we gonna have level scaling? Region-wide level scaling on wild Pokemon? Region-wide level scaling on different gyms? That kind of thing. What if you just spend all your time out in the wild catching, like, filling out the entire decks before you go in and start doing the gyms, you know? So there's a lot of questions that require answers, which is why I'm led to believe that I'm gonna curb my enthusiasm here and say I don't think this is truly going to be an open world game. I don't think true open world Pokemon is gonna be a thing. I think what's actually gonna happen is that we're still having sort of like connecting routes. So between each town, there's only limited ways for you to cross. Maybe you can split into 2 towns and then back to 1, 2, 1, so you have a little bit of variance. But I still think you're gonna be gated in certain ways where you're gonna have to go from one town to another town and tackle the gyms in a somewhat fixed order. I mean, maybe you have some degrees of freedom, but I don't think you're gonna be able to do like all of them straight in any order that you want. I mean, they could have surprised me and they've like really gone full open world and like tackled all those design things. Which, if they actually did, more power to them. I'll be interested to take a look at how they designed the game in that sense. But just my own thoughts on this, take a grain of salt. I think it's still going to be more or less. It's gonna be overall linear, except the linear routes now are huge and like they're expansive and you can have more exploration. Which brings me to my second point. They're having us walk around these areas. They're gonna have a lot of different Pokemon, and they mentioned that you're gonna be able to find different Pokemon in different areas and at different times. And then you're gonna have like these multiplayer spots where you can find certain I forgot what they call it, Dynamax? Yeah, Dynamax Pokemon or whatnot. So that indicates to me that you're gonna have unique, like if it's not randomized, kind of like the unique monsters in Xenoblade, you're gonna have unique spawn points for certain types of Pokemon. And if that's what they're doing, then honestly I think that's kind of genius. Because one of the big complaints about Pokemon is that you don't get a lot of exploration anymore, especially the linear arguments. Like, Pokemon games are very linear now. There's not a lot of exploration. There's not a lot of like finding out, ooh, what's in this region, what is in that region, that kind of stuff. People want more freedom in that sense. So if they actually, I think what they did is, if what I think they did was correct and they just made it such that you're getting from point A to point B, but the space in between is really huge, that's actually brilliant, because now you get all the exploration you want and pretty in-depth of it if at that rate. Because I mean, look at these. We look at this open world. You've got a very large area different terrain, different elevations and everything. You're gonna have at least Xenoblade level exploration. At least I'd imagine so. Which is gonna be exciting for players who are into that sort of thing. And well, they brought back wild encounters in the overworld from Let's Go, which I am completely in favor for. Like, that's gonna be so much better than the old random encounter system. So because that way you're giving the player choices in that sense. You don't force them into encounters if you don't want to, but you present the encounters and there's a degree of randomness that still keeps the player engaged in that sense. So that's really cool. Yeah, I think if you heard my discussion earlier, I don't think you're gonna be able to tackle gyms in any order, unless they have a huge change in design philosophy. Like I said, I still think it's gonna be more or less linear, except the linear paths now are gonna be super huge. I mean, how else are you gonna balance the wildlife? You know, you're gonna have early game mons and end game mons. That's kind of it. Because if you have a game with a leveling system, then unless you do area-wide level scaling, you're gonna have issues. Maybe you have certain regions that are higher level and certain regions that are lower level, and then you can try and push into those higher level areas. But then the lower levels will have to scale together with you, because if not, yeah. And the other thing, as I mentioned, does this mean if it's truly open world, a player could conceivably catch like everything in the decks except for limited ones? And then how are you going to balance that against the gyms if you have access to literally everything in the game before you even tackle a single gym? It's going to be hard to balance difficulty around that, you know. Which admittedly sometimes open world games are like that, you know. You just let the player break it completely. It's like, oh, if they spend all the time in the open world, then they can just trivialize story mode, you know. And of course, assuming that there is a story mode, then at some point you're going to have to gate the player into certain areas. Like if there's going to be a villain team, for example, and certain plot events have to happen, then you're gonna have to gate them somewhat. You can't just let them run off anywhere they want to go. Again, like I said, they could have done that. They could have completely changed up the design philosophy, and I will be really impressed, and I will be taking a look at it and trying to see what they do. But as it stands, I think right now, I think it's still gonna be linear, except the linear routes are huge now. That's what I think. Which is best of both worlds, really. You get the usual Pokemon design philosophy for more or less linear-ish RPG, but you get the exploration gameplay in. You're no longer being very restricted to certain points. Yeah. So that's what I think about this open world. Yeah. So I'm gonna curb my enthusiasm. I don't think it's gonna be super open world, but I think it's gonna be a huge amount of exploration, and I am totally in for that. Alright, next point to talk about. Well, giant Pokemon, but we don't need to. We'll get to that eventually. So we get back a little bit. I'll go back a bit. I want to see stuff. So this thing right here. I missed it. Yeah, this thing right here. What is this? Is this Pokemon Ami? Because if Pokemon Ami returns, I will be super happy. There's no UI on top of this, so I can't tell. But given that you're interacting with the Pokemon, I think it looks like you're interacting with the Pokemon. You get the little hearts that you get from Pokemon Ami. So please come back. But okay, let's assume for a fact that this isn't Pokemon Ami. It still means that in somewhat you can interact with your Pokemon. I guess you can talk to them. From what we've seen, they're not following you out in the overworld, which is a bit of a pity, but you know. But yeah, this looks like Ami. This is something I want to point out. It looked cute and like, yeah, that's a thing. It's okay. We keep going, and the trainer engage system is back from Sun and Moon, which means we don't have people that are standing in linear routes anymore. And you still have to tell they're tossing a Pokeball. That's how you know. So that's nice. That's a nice thing to bring back. I think it lets you have a lot better placements of trainers and stuff that look more natural. Okay, see, for example, this route is using the standard traditional camera overhead, and the road is more or less it's a straight road, you know. It's a bit tricky to have the player camera be this exact angle if it was manual. Most of the time players would have it swung to a certain degree, so this indicates to me that it's not going to be just open world. Like I think they mentioned you have free camera movement when you're in the wild area, like the overworld, but not every place is the overworld, so this could be an interconnecting route, I don't know. I don't know where exactly this is, that's the thing, but basically we're gonna have areas that aren't open world, and the camera's gonna be fixed point like this. On the other hand, we've got dungeons and stuff, like caves and stuff, where you still have unique camera angles, kind of like Sun and Moon. So that's a nice thing, you get different camera angles, it's a little more unique. Also, we've got a mine here, and we've got miner trainers. Now this area looks to be another fixed camera angle area, but again, I'm guessing because like the camera is in a very distinct position when you're doing over the shoulder third person. This is a really far angle, so I'm thinking this is going to be a fixed overworld area. And this is like a natural area too, so you're definitely going to have areas that are open, that are like free camera range, open world areas, and some areas that are going to be curated. Which, this could mean that either we have places of interest on the overworld that you can access it. It's still possible that the game is fully open world, and basically you just have like, it's kind of like as the same as you have towns, you have little places where you can enter into, and then you've got unique instances and stuff. Or it could mean that the open world is just certain areas. Like, it's my theory, you know, it's like it's still linear, but some of the routes are super huge. So that's a possibility. Okay, so oh, we have beach chairs in the ice region. That's kind of cool. Okay, so Troll's in the game. Oh, and there's a signpost back there too. Okay. So this is the open world part. Yeah, they're talking about it. Let's look. I guess we can look a bit closer. So yeah, we've got wild ranging Pokemon, organized bridges. Because there are definitely different towns being connected here. So this part is gonna be pretty huge. Bikes are returning. So you're not getting Pokemon. You're not getting ride Pokemon anymore, but at least it doesn't look like you get ride Pokemon. Especially since you get that flying taxi service, so bikes are back, which would be nice. That's a way that at least is a faster way to traverse in open world. Because if you have an open world, one of the important things is you need a faster mode of transportation to give the player that option. Also, Halucha's back there, and you've got a water bike, so you don't need surf. Surf is in fact, you can extend it from further there. It is possible we just don't have HMs anymore. Which, that means if we're doing fully open world, there could be a possibility, that could be an evidence for it being fully open world, because now there's no need to gate the player if you're doing fully open world. So you can just let the player do whatever. Although you could just hold back the water bike, I guess, to restrict them from getting it. So that's a possibility. It could be either way. You get fishing. Fishing is back. Berry trees are back. You can whistle to Pokemon and draw them out of the area. I think. At least that's what they look like. Okay, so this is a Pokemon Go raid, basically. Literally a Pokemon Go raid, down to the Pokemon being giant. So this is not, in fact, a completely out of the blue mechanic. At least, I think so. The first thing I saw was, oh, giant Pokemon. Like, oh, it's a raid. There's 4 players and everything. And then you can make Pokemon giants. Apparently. And of course, they mentioned it's online multiplayer. But we'll get to that in a bit as well, because that's coming up a bit later. Alright, let's skip ahead a bit. These are giant Pokemon. Yeah, that's a good point. We've got JRPG style boss battles with giant Pokemon. That's the thing though, are they balanced for 4 players? Could you solo a raid? With like huge amounts of planning and stuff. Like if you like, oh, you know, you have strategic use of protect and debuffs and stuff. I wonder if you could do that. Because if you can attempt a raid solo, that's going to be interesting. That's going to have exploratory gameplay on the mechanic side. So that's going to be a fun thing. So we've got gyms that are basically just esports stadiums. They said like, I remember like they were joking, they were saying about how like, oh, Gala Region's main pastime is Pokemon battling, and they broadcast it on TV and everything. It's like, esports. Pokemon World Championships. Har har har. And there's our champion, Leon, because of course we're in a region based off Britain. It's going to have to be Leon. That's just gonna be his name. He gives me major Zeke vibes. Zeke mix of Adam. And of course we had all the bagpipe music and everything. Alright, so that's all the stuff we saw from there. Okay, so let's keep going for a bit. You get your starter picks and stuff. Is there anything else interesting that I needed to talk about? Alright, so we're seeing two towns already. A smaller rustic village, which is probably where you start off with, and we've got this little, sort of like a small city, I guess. A lot of clockwork and stuff. It's a very modern looking metropolis too. And look, there's arena lines over there. So already the towns look way more interesting and multi-layered too. Like this looks like an elevated area. Maybe you can go down, maybe not. It's possible. But you really get a lot more decoration out on the streets and stuff, and that's a cool touch. Alright, so we're talking about the gyms here. Oh yeah, and then we've got James Turner here, who's been promoted to art director of this game, and I am super proud of him. He deserves it, man. I'm like, I wasn't expecting that, and it's like when he was announcing the art director, and like James Turner, he's stepped up to the plate. So that's pretty cool. So we're gonna take a look at some of the new Pokemon. I'm gonna give my quick thoughts on them. Wooloo. It's a sheep. It's cute, but it's basically a sheep. There's not too much to go about it. There's not too much going on with it, which I guess is fine. It's just a cartoon sheep. You need some plain designs in as well, but pretty ambivalent to it. It's just, well, it's kind of his thing. I mean, I might like it because it's cute, but like overall, it's a very safe design. I've got this thing. It's a flower. Nice fairy type design looking thing. Nice hair and everything. I don't know if cotton flowers look like that or not for when it evolves and stuff, but maybe it does. They did usually do their research. I'm assuming this is a snapping turtle of sorts. And I actually I can't tell what type I think it is, because it's got a weird color scheme. It could be anything, honestly. Okay, Corviknight. Goddamn top tier name, goddamn top tier design. Chef's kiss. A Knight Corvid. You can't get more English than that. It's absolutely divine. I like it. And he's pretty big too, and he's strong, and he carries your flying taxi. He's a cool guy. I mean, look at him. Look at the guy too. Look at the tech. Look at your Uber driver. He's got aviator glasses and everything. He's ready to take you on a ride, man. That's excellent. Alright, and then we've got evolutions. Cotton Spores. It's kind of cute. Reminds me of Jumpluff. Except it's just one big giant cotton puff. It's got Jumpluff elements and Whimsicott elements, which is alright. I don't mind this one. Although, okay, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. So that's all the Pokemon we've seen. So definitely out of the new ones reviewed today, Corviknight's definitely my favorite, just by concept, design, and names. Ooh, it's excellent. I love it. Alright, and then they're talking about the wild areas here. So yeah, they're talking about how it's open world and stuff, and you've got raid points. But I think I more or less covered everything I wanted to talk about earlier, so nothing too much new to say about it. You can freely control the camera, which is like, and the camera is at like a Xenoblade level, Xenoblade kind of angle, which leads me to believe that, I don't know, did Monolith Soft help out with this? I know they helped out with Breath of the Wild, so that's a thing that may have done. Okay, and then we get the mechanic stuff here for the new. This is the new Mega Evo, the new Z move. Well, closer to Mega Evo, right? So Dynamax. So initially we see here, this is a regular Raichu. We've got Thunderbolt, Light Screen, Brick Break, and Quick Attack. So after you Dynamax, you get Max Lightning, Max Guard, Max Knuckle, and Max Strike. So this is probably gonna be a thing like Z moves, where certain moves just turn into other certain moves. It could be like a General X thing. Dynamax sounds like the name of a detergent. Ha! I suppose so. But yeah. I think the PP doesn't change? I'm actually not sure. Let's take a look closer. Yeah, the power points don't change. So basically, you get upgraded versions of the previous moves. So you just get, it's basically a power up mode. I think, well, unless we get more details, we won't know how things like stats and health will change. So we don't know if it's going to be just like, oh, we get 4 times Z moves, but only for 3 turns. Or it actually has like, oh, I'm like powered up in health now. Oh, I'm powered up in damage now. Is it an X factor kind of thing, you know? And then the next thing they mention is also special gyms made to do Dynamax. So my immediate thought was, does this mean you can't Dynamax outside of these gyms? So you can obviously Dynamax in the raid battles because one of the players is allowed to. And if you wanted to do it in the open world, that's probably not going to be a problem because it's an open world, there's a lot of space to it. What happens in indoors? Like, assuming there are any indoor areas, what happens if you're battling like in an area that's not accommodated for it? Can you Dynamax in every battle or only in certain battles? That's the question. Definitely you're going to be able to do it for like VGC. But that's the question. How restricted is Dynamax? How often can you use it? Are there limitations to whether you can use it or not? Or are they just going to build all your environments to accommodate that, you know? And also the next question would be, is Mega Evos and Z moves returning? I would say yes, because of compatibility. You're probably going to be allowed to bring everything forward, unless they're actually going to cut it off. But I don't think they've ever done that before, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all this stuff plays together, you know? Okay, then they're talking about the raid battles, which are basically Pogo raid battles, except with a few more different mechanics. I'm assuming health are going to be stronger. Items can go through banks, so on paper they're able to remove them. True, but they kept Mega Evos in Sun and Moon. They just didn't add anymore. And it's going to be... I mean, they could, but I don't know if they're going to shake it up like that or not. You know? Although, who knows? I guess we'll see that closer to the date. Yeah, so they confirmed that we can do it both in local 4P, which is nice, and online 4P, which... Thank you! Because I do not have enough friends in real life to do it together with, you know? It's gonna be problematic if I can only do them at, like, meetups and stuff, you know? So, we can do them online. Thank you. I'm gonna have friends. I'm gonna do raids with them. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna, and like it's gonna be kind of like Monster Hunter almost. Oh, let's go. I found this, and this zone down here has this raid. We can go down there and tackle it. That kind of stuff. I'm assuming that means you go to the raid zone, trigger it, and then you get online. I don't think you're gonna have like other players running around your overworld. Unless it's completely crazy and they are going to have like unless it's going to be like actually they might do something like that. I don't know. You know how in Sun and Moon no, not Sun and Moon. Which game was it that had the carnival thing? The special mode. I forgot what it's called. Was it Oros? Oros had hidden bases. But I can't remember what the hidden bases were like. Did you have different stalls and stuff? I think it was, right? Whatever that one is. You had player ghosts standing around of like people you've met. Pokemon Platinum's Wi-Fi Plaza. Yeah, that's the one. Alright, so could they do something like that for the overworld? Could they populate the overworld with recreations of people you've played with? Because that's going to be interesting. That might be a thing that they do. Overworld. Yeah, no. There was like a mode. No, not black and white. There was one of the games where you had like a carnival building thing. I'm pretty sure it's Oras. Festival Plaza. That was it. Festival Plaza. That's the one I was talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Damn. I haven't played Sun and Moon in so long, I've forgotten it. Yeah, so Festival Plaza is what I was talking about. So Festival Plaza has other players standing around in there, and you could have some limited interaction with them. You could talk to them, and you can get some stuff from them. And they've got responses that are set from what the player chooses. So you have a little avatar of yourself popping up in other places and saying some pre-selected catchphrases and stuff, and some preferences. So, I was about to say, since they're going in for multiplayer, what if they have player ghosts of that kind standing around in the overworld, or at least like near raid spots and whatnot? Because that would be an interesting way to populate the open world. You know? Yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. I just wanted to say that stuff. Alright, so let's keep going. They're talking about the champion here. And then we've got the professor, and we've got her kid, and we've got a grandchild. So yeah, things could be cool. Could be cool. Oh yeah, and here we go. We've got the box legendaries. In principle, their designs are pretty cool, but I'm a little bit iffy on the color schemes. It's gonna take a while to grow on me, I guess. One of them's got a sword. It's obviously not part of them, but yeah. So let's really look at this. Honestly, I kind of think there's a little bit going on, a little bit too much going on as on the colors. They don't look too alike, to be honest. One of them's got a sword and one of them's got a shield. I mean, yeah, other than that, their body types are more or less the same, and they're both wolves. But they are counterparts of each other, I guess is the idea, so it's not too bad. But personally, I think the color scheme's a little bit too busy. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, I laughed because it's like, that's a little bit much. I think it would have been better if one of them, because you see, we've got 5 colors going on both of them now. We've got red and blue, which are not exactly the most complementary colors. I mean, if you're looking at this right now, red and blue is not really the most complementary. So I don't know about that. And then outside of that, we've got gold trim, white for the main body colors, and then black for accents. So that's 5 total colors. So I'm really not sure about that. I feel like all you needed to do was reduce one of the primary colors, like make one of them primarily blue and one of them primarily red, and that will work a lot better. I know they're trying to channel a coat of arms, and they've got all these colors in there, but a coat of arms is an icon. It's like a logo-ish thing, and like logo color designs don't carry over to like main color designs so much. I think, well, maybe it'll work a little bit better if like the colors are slightly more subdued, depending on. I mean, look at this. When you first see this, you see mostly red, and then you see a little bit of blue here and there, and that's not exactly the nicest, you know. I still think it's a bit too busy. I feel like we just made one of them you took all the blue parts and turned them red. The other one, you took all the red parts and turned them blue. It would look a lot better. Because gold trim works for both. Gold trim works for both, and black and white works by itself, and they work more or less well together. But I think mostly it's just the red and blue clashing that is not selling me on this design. I mean, other than that, I can't complain too much. Okay, see, when they're glowing, it looks better. Because now Yeah, okay. Look at this. When they're glowing, it looks a lot better because now on the left you can see one is primarily blue and the other one's primarily red. This is what I'm talking about. If you took out the other clashing colors, I think it'd look a lot more cohesive, you know? But that's just my thought. That's just what I think. It'll take a while to grow on me, I think. But that's just my criticism. Yeah. So that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much everything in here. The names are alright. The names are alright. One's a Zambato. Cyan and Magenta. Yeah. Oh! That Cyan and Magenta, I get it. And like, I thought the second one was like a weapon name or something. Well, anyways, I think that's... Yeah, I mean, look at it in the sprite art as well. Like, it's still very busy. I think it would it would look a little bit better if it was just if one was primarily red and one was primarily blue. Like, look, okay, this one doesn't look so bad because the red's the under trim and stuff. So it kind of looks like you're primarily blue on top and then you're red underneath. I see what they're going for now, so this one's not too bad. But then this one, red and blue are both on top. He looks like a Gundam. He looks like a Gundam. No, the more I look at it, this is the Gundam's color. It's a Gundam's color design. So I don't know. I think mostly you look around the face. That's why it gets the busiest. Because like if you look around his face, around his eyes and muzzle, and then the shield main immediately outside of it, you immediately see all 5 colors at once. Like there's white on his eyes and his muzzle. And then there's blue underneath his eyes, outlined in black, and then outside of that is an entire flat sheet of red. And then the red has gold trim around it. But not just that, above the black rimmed eyes is gold, and then more blue. And then immediately on top of that crown is red. So this is the problem area for me, the face. Which is a pity because that's where the eye is first drawn to, you know? Your eyes are drawn to the face most of the time, first off, and immediately you go there and then you see all these colors at once, and there's too much color information there. So that's just my personal thoughts on it. It's kind of a bit iffy. The previous one as well, actually, if you look carefully, around the face there's a lot going on as well. It's the same like mess of colors. It's just that his face doesn't have a huge mane around it, so it's not like drawing attention into the center of the mane. So it's not quite as jarring, but it's still very, very busy going on in there, you know? Like I said, this one slips by a little bit more because, yeah, he's blue, he's mostly blue and with some red elements like underneath the muzzle and stuff, and then he's wearing a gold crown. That's fine. Yeah, I see, like the blue is mostly on this piece, and the red is mostly confined to his little diadem, and the nose, I guess, and on the side of the muzzle, but that's not too bad. But then we pop over to this guy, and yeah, his mane is very big, and it's mostly red and gold trim. That's the issue. So you have this huge expanse of red and gold, and then your eye is drawn to the center of it, where it's a completely different color scheme. So that's why I'm not really sold on the design. That's my thought though. Which again, I think it could be simplified just by reducing the number of colors present in the design. And when they're glowing, it looks a lot better. But yeah, that's more or less what I think about it. I don't know, chat. What do you think? So yeah, I think that's everything in this. That's everything I wanted to talk about in this trailer. Oh yeah, release date, November 15, which is pre-Christmas period. Well, it's cool we get it earlier. It's cool when we get it earlier. That does raise the question: what does Nintendo have in store for the holiday season? I guess that's what we'll find out in a week's time. We'll see what they announce at E3, because Nintendo's bound to have something up for December. They can't be tossing out all their games like before the holiday season even starts. Because I was thinking this was going to be the Christmas game, but it's not. It's actually pre-Christmas. So who knows?